This is Stephanie Mann at safekidsnow.com, and I have with me today Rebecca Kimbel. And Rebecca grew up in a polygamous cult. Her father had 6 wives, and she is one of 39 children. In previous videos, we have discussed polygamy, a criminal enterprise costing taxpayers millions, and in the other video, we discussed why do polygamous women, why don't they speak up? Well, in this video, I would like to ask the question, how can we stop polygamy? So, Rebecca, can you kind of enlighten us on what you think needs to change in order to stop the polygamists?
I'd like to say that we're not going to stop polygamy entirely. That's not possible. But we could certainly shrink it by stopping the financing of it. We, the taxpayers, are paying for polygamy. It is a profitable, organized crime where children are born every year to women that don't have a choice, and these children are supported by Aid for Dependent Children and on your tax dollars. Many forms of your tax dollars go to support these children and the land and their schools. And it's interesting to know that even in the schools, investigative reports have shown that very few children ever graduate from high school, like 1 in 20 years, in these schools that are financed by your tax dollars in polygamous towns. And in the case of Winston Blackmore, he was actually cohabitating with the students and had many children, child brides. Winston had 9 child brides, and none of them would testify against him because they were all still living with him. How dare they? And he had so many wives he couldn't remember their names. And Winston's just one example. In Colorado City, they had 3 employees for the school, for every single student, yet they produced children that could not read when they were in their 20s.
So how can we stop this?
We've got to stop financing it. And the way that we can stop financing it is to demand DNA testing in these hotbeds where there is polygamy, or any place where they have funds for children. Anyone that wants government funds for children should willingly submit to DNA testing, which is inexpensive now. You can buy DNA testing over the counter. I have seen it advertised for as low as $125 and as low as $100 on TV. So if you had DNA testing and took it out of the first welfare check so that the government didn't even have to pay for it, take it out of the first check, then you would find how many of these children are being financed by your tax dollars. In the state of Arizona and Utah, 98% of the tax money of both states goes into the polygamous communities of Hilldale and Colorado City on the Utah-Nevada border. If there were a legal limit on how many children a man could spawn and force the taxpayer to pay for, there would be a great reduction in the money made on this organized crime. And if we carried it a bit further and took the enterprises that these men launder the money in, they get all the money because welfare leaders, polygamous leaders, are very, very wealthy. They get the money and they launder it into businesses, ranches, car shops, lumber companies, you can just go on and on, in other entities. So if the money could be followed, and if a father of many children had stock in one of those corporation entities or ownership in any of them, it should not be protected by law anymore. They should be able to reach in and take his sacred cow apart and make him pay back to the government every penny that they paid out to support his wives and children. If these men could not get rich on it, it wouldn't be happening, and it's going to happen as long as crime pays. We should have no statute of limitations on having sex with a child. And when they have child brides, and these little girls have several children by the time they're 18, and they live in an isolated community and know no other world, then our law currently states they're 18, it's an adult choice. She has no choice. Her life has been turned in a direction she cannot change, and no one is there to help her out. She has no adult choice and never did. There should be no statute of limitations on child rape. These men should be held accountable. If they weren't getting wealthy on it, it wouldn't be happening. Make them legally, financially accountable. The younger the child, the higher the penalty price that they should have to pay. And they should have stiff, hard fines for cohabiting with children. When an adult has sex with a child, it is always the responsibility of the adult. I don't care what the child did or didn't do. It is always the responsibility of the adult. As long as this dual standard we have can arrest the victim, hold her responsible for her own enslavement, it will continue because there's millions of dollars to be made on this. Trafficking in religion makes as much or more money as trafficking on the standard prostitution sites.
Okay.
Please look at this. And all we got to do is quit paying for it. Stop the money flow. Follow the money trail and you'll find out more than you wanted to know. Then stop it.
I want to thank you so much, Rebecca Kimbel, for sharing that information. And you're absolutely right. We got to stop the money trail. So this is Stephanie Mann at safekidsnow.com. And thank you very much, Rebecca Kimbel.